Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig Sports. This is the CFL DFS video for week number 10 if you're joining me for the very first time. First of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how this video will be structured. We'll be going over my CFL DFS sheet for week number 10, talking through all the relevant players, whether or not I would consider them a GPP option, a cash game option, or a GPP pay down or dart throw option just in general. I'll also be mentioning whether or not I will be overweight, underweight, in line with the field, slightly overweight, slightly underweight to each player that I do talk about at the same time as well. And we'll walk you guys through some of the relevant injuries for this week overall. But without further ado, we'll get right into it. We're going to start off with the BC Lions. We got Nathan Rourke at quarterback. He's at $10,800. So he's up there in price tag, but would consider him a GPP option. Probably going to be in line with the field on him. Maybe ever so slightly overweight to the field on him this week overall. Definitely do like his upside once again. At running back, we got James Butler. He's at $10,000 GPP option. Probably going to be in line with the field on him. You could probably go slightly overweight to the field on him at the same time as well. He's had some really good upside games so far this season. 2 of his last 3 games have been those high upside games at the same time as well. And then we move down to wide receiver. Mainly, I'm just getting to Stanley Berryhill and Keon Hatcher this week. Both GPP options. Both have been solid so far this season. Probably going to be in line with the field on both them. You know, if you really want to take a shot on Javon Coutoy, Aiden Eberhardt, or Justin McInnis, would definitely understand it at the same time as well. And then I do have a little bit of interest at Seven McGee at wide receiver as well. $2,800 viable paydown option. Probably going to be in line with the field on him. He is their primary kick and punt returner, so definitely do like the upside that he provides from that perspective. Probably not going to add too much on offense, if anything at all. So I definitely do like him as kind of a potential punt play just in general. And then we move down to that Lions defense. They're $3,400. They are the cheapest defense on the slate, so they could be considered a pay down option, but I will be underweight to the field on them this week as they're going against the Tiger Cats, who have played really well so far this season. Then we move down to the Tiger Cats team. We got Bo Levi Mitchell at quarterback. He's $11,400 GPP option. Probably going to be in line with the field on him. You could argue maybe ever so slightly underweight to the field just because of that price tag, but he's played extremely, extremely well so far this season. So definitely do like his upside just in general. At running back, we got Greg Bell, $8,100. I would consider him a potential cash game option once again this week. Slightly overweight to the field on him. And just some other news at running back. They did sign Kevin Brown to the practice roster. Obviously, he is a CFL veteran at this point in time. He's played for a couple seasons, and he's kind of bounced around a little bit, but does add some running back depth, but will not be a factor for week number 10. Then we move down to wide receivers. So we got Kenny Lawler and Tim White, both as kind of GPP options. Probably going to be in line with the field on both them. Kenny Lawler obviously had that big start to the season. Tim White's been solid throughout the season. Definitely do like getting some exposure to both them. And then Keandre Smith's really been turning on as of late, been a lot more involved in the offense the last 2 games. So at $7,600, would consider him a potential cash game option. We'll be slightly overweight to the field on him this week. And Tyler Terneski is on that 1-game injured list, so he'll be out. And we'll see the season debut for Drew Wolters-Iski, who is going to be active for the first time all season. He's been dealing with a couple injuries himself, and then was a healthy scratch for a couple other games. So we'll be interested to see if he plays a role in this offense at all. Don't really expect it at this point in time, so would not be a guy that we would be getting to for DFS purposes, though. And then we move down to the Tiger Cats defense, $4,200 GPP option. Probably going to be slightly underweight to the field on them, going against the BC Lions, a little bit tougher matchup, although that Tiger Cats defense has played relatively well so far this season. Then we move down to the Edmonton Elks. We got Cody Fajardo at quarterback. He's $9,200 GPP option. Probably going to be in line with the field on him. He's probably one of the quarterbacks that I do like getting to in terms of that cheaper price tag. So definitely do like the upside that he could potentially have there. Offers a little bit of rushing upside, but he's up there in age at this point in time, so I wouldn't expect too much at the same time as well. Justin Rankin's coming off a really strong week last week, so at $8,300 would consider him a GPP option. Probably in line with the field, maybe ever so slightly underweight to the field, just coming off that really strong performance last week, which was a little bit of a surprise since the run game for the Elks had not been too good the previous 2 games prior to that. You know, if you want to get to Javon Leake at $6,300, you can definitely do that as well. He will operate as their primary return man at the same time as well. And then we move down to their wide receivers. So Stephen Dunbar Jr., Curly Gittens Jr., and Keon Julian Grant. All GPP options, probably going to be in line with the field on all 3 of them this week. If you want to make a major stand on any one of those 3, definitely can do that at the same time as well, but definitely do like their upside with Cody Fajardo at quarterback at this point in time. Zach Mathis did miss last week. He has not been listed on the injury report, so I would assume that he is back for this week, but not going to play a major role overall. Arkell Smith was not really involved in the return game last week, so probably going to limit his upside just in general. Then we move down to the Elks defense. They are a viable paydown option at $3,500. Probably going to be in line with the field on them, maybe ever so slightly overweight to the field as they go against the Montreal Alouettes, who had a really rough game last week. And speaking of that Alouettes team, McLeod Bethel-Thompson at quarterback, $8,800. I have him listed as a GPP option. You would consider a GPP paydown option. Was a really rough game for him last week, so probably going to be slightly underweight to the field on him this week. Probably not getting to him this week overall, but it is a decent matchup going against that Elks defense, which has been hit or miss so far this season, but a little bit more risky than I would like at that quarterback position just in general. At running back, we got Sean Thomas Erlington, $6,200 GPP option. Probably going to be in line with the field on him once again this week. They didn't run the ball too much last week, so that is a little bit of a concern there. Travis Tice at running back, paydown option at $4,500. Could see some kick return duties, but mainly last week we did see Taiwan Lindsay doing the bulk load of the return duty, so that might impact his value just a little bit in general. Then we move down to the wide receivers. So James Lecter Jr., Austin Mack, and Tyson Philpott all out once again. Daniel Oladejo last week was placed on that 6-game injured list, so those are the wide receivers out at this point in time. Charleston Rambo did nothing last week, so not really getting to him. Tyler Snead at $8,000. I would consider a viable cash game option this week. Probably going to be slightly overweight to the field on him. And then Cole Speaker at $7,000. GPP option, probably going to be in line with the field on him. Maybe ever so slightly overweight to the field, especially coming off that down week last week. And then the last two guys I will mention here, Taiwan Lindsay at $2,500. Their primary return man could be considered a paydown option, probably going to be in line with the field on him. And then if you want to take a shot on Alexander Hollins at $2,500, you can definitely do that as a viable paydown option, although he did only receive one target in last week's game. But he is a very experienced CFL wide receiver with some pretty good history at that. And then we move down to that Alouettes defense going against the Edmonton Elks. $3,600 could be considered a viable paydown option, probably going to be in line with the field on them. Maybe ever so slightly overweight to the field. Kind of just depends on how you feel about this matchup for the Alouettes. If they can right the ship on offense, could definitely help out their defense in a pretty big way. Then we move down to the Ottawa Redblacks. We got Drew Brown at quarterback, $9,300 GPP option. Probably going to be in line with the field on him. And there is a decent case to be slightly overweight to the field on him this week. He has pretty decent upside. $9,300 is a pretty attractive price tag just in general. They did promote Tyree Adams from the practice roster, so we'll see if he's active for this game or not. They have not announced an official other quarterback move, so we'll see what that looks like for the Redblacks moving forward, especially as we do get their depth chart. And then William Stanback at running backs kind of taking over $5,600. GPP option, probably going to be in line with the field on him. Probably could get ever so slightly overweight to the field on him at the same time as well, if that's something you really want to do. Then we move down to wide receiver. Justin Hardy has been unable to practice on Tuesday and Wednesday due to back injury, and we will see his final injury designation on Thursday. If he ultimately ends up playing, I would consider him a GPP option, probably going to be in line with the field. However, if he's unable to go, it's going to be a pretty big boost to Braylon Addison and Eugene Lewis, so definitely would like both them quite a bit more. Braylon Addison might actually bump up to like a cash game play, although it's like his second week back, so a little bit more risk there, but definitely do like those two guys quite a bit. And then Khalil Pimbleton, GPP option, probably going to be in line with the field on him at the same time as well. In terms of the Redblacks defense, they're $3,700, viable paydown option, probably going to be in line with the field on them, but going against the Toronto Argonauts could be a very hit or miss matchup just in general. Then moving down to that Toronto Argonauts team, we got Nick Arboko at quarterback. He's up to $10,300. GPP option, probably going to be in line with the field on him, maybe ever so slightly underweight to the field just with that price tag at this point in time, although he's had back-to-back good weeks. Not really touching the running back position for them as they only had like 5 carries in total last week. You know, if you really want to play like Khalil Laborn, you could definitely do that at the same time as well, but that's more of a dart throw just in general. And at running back, they also did sign Penny Boone to the practice roster, so we will have to see if he does play a part in their team plans in the future, but will not be the case for week number 10. And then technically, they did trade for the rights to Spencer Brown from the Edmonton Elks, so just a couple notes there at that running back position. In terms of the wide receiver position, we got some news injury-wise. So Devaris Daniels was limited practice on Tuesday and Wednesday due to a hip injury. We'll see whether or not he's good to go or not this week. And then Kevin Meidel was limited practice on Tuesday, did not practice on Wednesday due to a quad injury. They have already promoted Jake Herslow from the practice roster, so if I had to guess, Kevin Meidel's probably not playing this week, and if he does, probably not getting to him for DFS purposes. So in terms of the wide receivers that I would be interested in this week, DeMonte Coxie, $9,800. GPP option, probably going to be in line with the field on him. probably going to draw a lot of ownership this week. He's coming off a really strong performance last week. DeJuan Brissett is a little bit more interesting this week at $4,300. Kind of a paydown option, probably slightly overweight to the field on him if Kevin Meidl ends up missing. If Meidl and DeVaris Daniels both end up missing, he's going to look a lot better. He would probably be a cash game option at that point in time. DeVaris Daniels, if he does ultimately end up playing, $5,400. GPP option probably going to be in line with the field on him. If Kevin Meidl and DeVaris Daniels are both out, Hergy Maella could be a potential dart throw at $2,500, as he did see his first action of the season on offense last week. Then we move down to Toronto Argonauts defense at $4,000. Viable GPP option. There is some upside to be had there with them, but probably ultimately going to be in line with the field on them just in general. Then we move down to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Zach Collaros at quarterback, $9,900. Was able to practice in full on Tuesday and Wednesday due to his neck injury, so looks like he should be back this week. Chris Revler was not too great last week. Collaros has kind of struggled so far this season, so I'm probably just going to avoid that position just in general for this Blue Bombers team. Moving down to running back, we got Brady Oliveira at $9,700. GPP option. Might be slightly overweight to the field on him this week. He has kind of yet to have that true breakout game so far this season, so I feel like most weeks I'm a little bit overweight to him because we know that the talent's there. We know that that week is going to come at some point in time. Maybe I'm banking a little bit on that too much, but I definitely do like him at this price tag this week just in general. And then we move down to their wide receiver position. So we have Nick Dominski at $9,700. GPP apps probably going to be in line with the field on him once again. Jairus Stearns has been pretty good as of late, so $5,000 GPP option, probably going to be in line with the field, slightly overweight to the field. I could see a case to play him as kind of a cash game option. We'll see what it looks like with that quarterback position just in general. Carrick Weedfall at $8,200 GPP option, probably going to be in line with the field on him at the same time as well. And then Cody Case was placed on that 6-game injury list last week, so we did see Gavin Cobb active. So it's going to be pretty interesting for the Blue Bombers this week overall, especially regarding that quarterback position, which could very much impact the potential upside of this wide receiver unit. And then moving down to that Blue Bombers defense at $4,100, their GPP option probably going to be slightly underweight to the field on them. They have not been great on defense so far this season. And then we move down to the Calgary Stampeders. So we have Vernon Adams Jr. at quarterback, $10,400. GPP option, if he plays, will be slightly overweight to the field on him. Definitely do like the upside that he does have. Was able to practice in full on Tuesday and Wednesday due to a head injury, so would assume that he is back once again this week. However, if he's not able to play, we get PJ Walker once again. Probably not getting to PJ Walker, and that Blue Bombers defense would look better in that situation. And then we move down to Dedrick Mills at running back, $8,500. GPP option, probably going to be in line with the field on him. Thought they would lean on him a little bit more last week, but they weren't able to run the ball pretty much whatsoever. So was unfortunately a down week for him just in general. And then in terms of the wide receiver unit, they did get some good news this week as Clark Barnes is going to be returning. He was able to practice in full on Tuesday and Wednesday. So I would consider him a GPP option, probably going to be slightly underweight to him in his first game back. And then I have Eric Brooks and Tevin Jones, both listed as GPP options, probably going to be in line with the field on both them. Tevin Jones was technically limited in practice on Tuesday, but was able to practice in full on Wednesday due to a hip injury. Jalen Philpott was limited practice on Tuesday, did not practice on Wednesday due to hamstring injury, so safe to assume that he will be out once again this week. And then Dominic Rhymes, $7,100. Viable cash game option. He's been really good for them as of late. I will be slightly overweight to the field on him once again. And then Damian Alford was limited practice on Tuesday and Wednesday once again due to that hamstring injury. I'm going to assume that he'll be out once again this week. So pretty similar to last week, we're looking at Brooks, Jones, and Rhymes. You can also play Clark Barnes at the same time as well if that's something you really want to do. And then we have Vashawn Jonas, probably mispronouncing his name. He was a little bit involved last week, but was limited in practice on Wednesday due to a quad injury. So we'll see whether he's good to go or not this week. And then Dalen Baldwin was technically moved back to the practice roster with the news that Clark Barnes should be back this week. Then we move down to that Stampeders defense. They're $4,300. GPP option, probably going to be in line with the field on them. They have been playing pretty well as of late. That Blue Bombers team does have some question marks on offense. If Chris Trevler ultimately gets the start at quarterback, I could make a case for being overweight to the Stampeders just in general. And then last but not least, the Rough Riders are the one lone team on the bye this week. But with that being said, that's a quick little rundown on my CFL DFS sheet for week number 10. As always, if you have any questions related to CFL DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. And then I will also be listing all the depth charts as they do come out throughout the week down in that comment section, as well as any other major news. Anything else beyond that will be updated on this sheet, which will be up on my Patreon page. Very small monthly donation for that over there. You get access to my CFL DFS sheets for a month, as well as some daily MLB DFS notes, if that's something you're into as well. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. It helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we have MLB DFS in terms of the core pick videos, typically Monday through Friday. This week, we will not be having a video for Thursday, as it is a weird, smaller slate just in general. And then I also have my CFL DFS videos coming out once a week, typically on Wednesdays. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for BetUS and Prize Picks. If you're a brand new user on either one of those sites, when you sign up, make your initial deposit, you'll get a first match deposit bonus. For Prize Picks, it's 100% match up to $100. And then for BetUS, it's 125% match up to $2,000. So some pretty good opportunities to be had out there. If you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comment section below or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and I would be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for this week's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in CFL DFS for week number 10.